Okay, we're talking about circles and some special words here. This is a Greek letter called pi, and it's written like that. You can write it like that. And pi is really important, and it's just a relationship between different aspects of a circle. And we use pi to figure out the circumference of a circle. So we need to know a few terms first. The diameter goes right across the circle through the middle. The radius also comes from the middle or to the middle, but it just reaches out to the outside. So the radius is half of the diameter. The circumference goes right around the whole thing. So the circumference of a circle is its perimeter, but we can't calculate perimeter in the same way by adding up the sides like that. There's also a few other special things. A chord is like a diameter, but it doesn't go through the center. It just sort of goes out there. And a chord can then give us a segment of a circle, which is sort of a side. A sector comes from the circle. There's two radii, and then that sector there. A tangent touches on the circle and takes off. You often have heard of people going off on a tangent. They'll start by what we're talking about here on the actual circle, and then they go off and talk about something else. You might find that I do that. And so now the circumference is the distance around the circle. And the circumference is 2 times pi times r, or pi times the diameter. And I'm going to show you what pi is, but basically pi is the relationship between the circumference and the diameter, and it works. It always works for every circle. So the ratio of the circumference to the diameter of any circle is equal to pi. So any circle that's perfectly round, you divide the circumference by the diameter, and you get this weird number. And Ms. Rafferty's video is really good at showing you this, but the number comes out as just a little bit more than 3. And it actually goes on forever because it is an irrational number, which means you can't make it into a ratio. It cannot be expressed as a fraction. It literally goes on forever. So to show you another way, if pi is equal to the circumference divided by the diameter, then we just multiply both sides by the diameter, and then we get diameter times pi equals the circumference. So it's just algebra again. Sorry, we can't get that far away from algebra. But it means that we now have a method, because we figured out what pi is, we have a method to find the circumference of any circle. So we can approximate pi. 3, that's really inaccurate, but 3.14 is one that is often used, and 22/7 is often used. And if you want, you can go and see. There's no way you can go and find every single digit of pi, because this goes on forever. You plug it into your calculator, hit the pi button, and you're just going to see numbers, but you will never see them all ever, ever. So now we need our calculator. Okay, we often can use, if we're using a fraction, 22/7 is a good approximation for pi. Approximation means it's not exactly accurate because nothing is. This is actually the most, that little symbol, that little Greek symbol, is actually the most accurate way to represent pi. But we can use our calculator and write what pi would be equal to if we did 22 divided by 7, or ABC 7, and there's our number, 3 and 1/7. Or if I hit that ABC again, 3.142857, blah, 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 blah. So what are we actually asked to do? We are asked to write it to 2 decimal places. So if I use my calculator, 3.14, and the next digit is 2, so I would write that as 3.14. And then to 3 decimal places, we have to be a little bit careful because we have 3.142, but the critical digit, the next one, is 8. So that would actually be 3.143. Now we're going to decide if 22/7 is a better approximation to pi than 3.14. Well, 3.14 is really close, but if we have a look here, this is all these extra digits. If we use 22/7, they actually show us that we're probably getting a little bit closer to the real answer if we were to use 22/7. So I think 22/7 is only marginally, but not a huge amount, a better approximation to pi than 3.14. Now we're going to calculate the circumference of these circles. Okay, and for this one, we've got a line right through the center. So a line right through the center is a diameter. And so we got 2 options. So we'll have pi times the diameter. And let me just read this really carefully. Calculate the circumference using a calculator. Okay, and rounding your answer to 2 decimal places. So that's really important, because remember, pi can be pi. Pi can be an approximation like 3.14. Pi could be 22/7. So the question will usually tell you which of these you're going to want to use. In this case, using a calculator means we're going to use that one. So let's look at our calculator. There's actually a specific button on your calculator that is pi. So we can just do pi times, what was the diameter? 7. And there's your answer. 7 is the diameter, pi times the diameter. So our answer, what do we ask for? 2 decimal places. So we have 21.991. If that were 5 or higher, we would round everything up all the way up to 22 with 2 zeros on it. But for the way it is now, 21.99 is going to be our answer. 21.99. Therefore, the circumference is 21.99, and that's where we put the unit on. Now for this one, we have ourselves a radius. So let's use the other one. So circumference equals 2 pi r. And it's written that way, but it really means those. 2 radii. And guess what? 2 radii makes a diameter. So it's the same idea, but it just mathematically takes care of everything. So again, I'm going to go to my calculator. So I'm going to have 2 times, where's my pi button? Pi times 2.3 is equal to 14.45. Again, our critical digit is lower than 5, so it's 1. So 14.45 is our answer, equals 14.45. So therefore, our circumference here is 14.45, and the unit is, oh boy, millimeters. There you go.